Good afternoon, everyone. And once again, I welcome you to the Nigeria Investment Summit. This is the second panel, and our topic for the second panel is an overview of investment opportunities in Nigeria. To discuss this topic with me, I have three able panelists sitting on the stage with me today, and I'm going to just introduce them. The first person I'm going to introduce is Olushiji Aina. He is a country director and board member, U.S. Trade Council Impact Amplifier. He is a development, sorry, just a minute, I'll be with you. Olushiji Aina is a development economist and impact investment specialist. He is a strategist with professional competencies in building high-impact market relevant skills for economic development, creating employment, and promoting economic growth in Africa. He is a partner and West African director with Impact Amplifier, responsible for strategic business deepening, business development deepening, economic development, stakeholder engagement, and project management for Nigeria and West Africa. Please join me to welcome Olushiji Aina. All right, and on the stage with me as well, I have Bello Muhammad Tongo, right? Okay. Founder and CEO, Tongsin Enterprise Holdings. He is an award-winning, experienced educational, construction, design, and innovation professional and entrepreneur. He's the executive director, chairman, and CEO of Tongsin Enterprise Group, a leading award-winning Pan-Africa group connecting entrepreneurship and education through finance, media, and business. Please join me in welcoming Bello. And last but not the least, I have Sven Rosenberg. He's a co-founder, Postnest. He's an experienced business developer who has been working in the technology sector for more than 10 years. He has been through the building of a startup cycle and currently works on another one, a major one called Postnet. Please join me in welcoming Sven. I'm so sorry, I hope I'm not murdering your name too much. I can feel you, you know. My name is very long, especially when they write the full thing, Olufunmilayo. And today people have been scared to call the name, so I can feel you. So today we're supposed to be talking about an overview of investment opportunities in Nigeria. And I'm going to start with Bello. Bello, you and I had a wonderful discussion yesterday, and you were telling me something very exciting about what you do, which involves sustainable social economic development. How do you see that in terms of the investors' attitude towards investments in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much, Olufumi, and I'm very happy to be here. Yes, so in terms of investment opportunities in Nigeria, you saw how the previous panel talked about so many different things, right? And every other session that we've been having has been talking about agriculture, mineral resource, infrastructure, and etc. But my plan is to actually focus on some other aspect of investment opportunities in Nigeria, which may not be what you typically will hear. And that is in the human capital or in the human resource side of Nigeria, or even Africa as a whole. Obviously, you know, in Nigeria, with the high population that we have, even in many of the other African countries, many of that segment or of the population is actually the young people. And these young people are pretty much looking more like liabilities right now to the economies of Africa. So for me, the way I see investment opportunities is in terms of actually directly towards the young people. If you basically integrate what they are going through in the education system and also in their professional life, capacity development-wise, you integrate that with what's happening in the industry and what the economy needs and what generally the globe is looking for in terms of sustainable development, ESG, and etc., then that becomes a very good asset to you. And think about it also. If the young people, or if the youth, or this majority of the human resource of Africa and Nigeria, if they are not assets to you, they will be liabilities. If they are not value adding, they will be taking value out of it. So regardless of anything that we really go and do in Nigeria or in Africa, whether it's in infrastructure, in agriculture, mineral resource, and all of that, each of this majority of the demography are going to almost be leeches to whatever you do. So it's not going to be sustainable, any investment that you do in different sectors and industries, except if the human resource, the majority of it, which is the young people, as I said, are not, except if they are really built to the capacity that they make use of it, they make it productive, and they also really understand what you are trying to achieve as companies and industries. So for me, the part of investment opportunities I see is in the capacity development or education of the young people in Africa and Nigeria. And but as I said, a step further, it needs to also connect with what you are doing in each of your different industries and what the globe or the world is looking for in terms of sustainable socioeconomic development. So I will keep it as that, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And so if I can summarize everything you've said, it's that if there is investment in form of capital, without investment in the people, you may not have the kind of results that you are looking for. Thank you so much for that. Then I move on to Olushiji. Based on your exposure and working with linking businesses with investors globally, which sectors do you think require the most investment in Nigeria right now?
All right, thank you for me. Thank you for having me, and good afternoon, everybody. I think the first set of the first panelists have done a great job by trying to x-ray a couple of opportunities that we have in the country. And just like every other person will keep saying that if you step into Nigeria and Africa as a whole, you step into money. People walk around without even knowing that the country, the continent is so blessed. So whether you look at the healthcare, you look at agriculture, you look at housing, these are areas that you have huge deficit, across all of those sectors. But most importantly, for example, we're in London here. If you look at the trade between UK and Nigeria, last year, 2021, is about 3.5 billion pounds. And then if you also, dimension it into export and import, you will know that there's more of import than export out of the country. So for us, for example, for us at the US African Trade Council, is for us to see several opportunities that are available and how to also support the continent to ensure that we are able to make Africa, the next baby of the world. And if you also look at the new strategy document that's recently released from the United States, which is giving birth, to Harris-Biden and African Leadership Summit, sometimes in mid-December. It's conversations around what can be done to help the continent. But agricultural sector is one area that I want to quickly talk about in the next couple of seconds before I drop the microphone. Sometimes last year I was in Kano, and I look at the informal trade happening in one of those markets, and we tried to do a bit of, quick analysis, and we discovered that that market does nothing less than about 30 billion naira every month, informally that government cannot account for. Most of the states in Nigeria are suffering, waiting for federal allocations when they can actually turn around the state based on what they're doing. Nigeria is the highest producer of cashew nuts, sesame seed around the sub-Saharan Africa, particularly my state, where I also sit as the chairman Economic Advisory Council, to the government. And all of these, we need to harmonize that to create opportunity that can drive economic growth, create jobs, and also reduce the level of poverty we have in the country and in the continent. So agriculture is a very critical point. We need to be able to feed ourselves, and we need to be able to export the food out because we have those things in high demand and of high quality. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much. And if I can just summarize what you've said, we need to be working on improved exports, import replacement, and processing capacity. And to add to what he said on agriculture, if you look at several products, cashew, sesame seeds, you're talking about cassava, you're talking about shea butter, just name it. Nigeria is 1 to number 5 in all those products globally in terms of production, primary production. And then our quality, the cashew that comes from Ogbomosho in Oyo State is the biggest and the best in the world, in size and in taste. Unfortunately, and Kogi State is also good. Yes, Kogi State is better for quantity, but in terms of the biggest size, it's Oyo State. Yeah, because I'm married from Oyo State, so I have to suffer. So at the end of the day, what are we talking about? We have a lot of quality and a lot of value, and that is not being tapped. And that's what we're talking about here. Thank you so much, Olushiji. And without more further delay, I move to you, Sves. I've been struggling with this name. I wish I could get it. Thank you.
No
Please
worries.
teach me one more time.
Sven.
Sven. Thank you, Sven. That's not so difficult. Thank you. Yes, over to you. And I'm going to come up with your question. Just a minute. I'll be with you. All right, so Stephen, how do you see the Nigerian market evolving over the next 5 years?
Well, if the previous panelists and my dear colleagues here on the stage spoke about different industries, I would actually focus more on the logistics and e-commerce side, as Postnest is, let's say, a journey in that space. So we believe that there is enormous opportunities available in the e-commerce industry. Because if you look at the current landscape in Nigeria and compare the current players who we see are actually working on the market, for example, Jumi and the rest, there's about 5 players who actually dominate the overall market. But and to my knowledge, they basically hold 1% of the overall market. 5 players out of the market that Nigeria actually represents. And the other part actually, when we started the Postnest journey about 2 years ago, we actually looked also into the, depends how you want to call it, informal market or also the social media sales side where most of the deals happen through WhatsApp, Instagram, and so forth. They actually don't have a reliable, let's say, delivery service. A lot of those deliveries, when you buy something through Instagram or something, will be delivered by bikes, and usually it's agreed with some guy who will actually deliver that. So when we will start the operations, we believe that actually this will enliven a little bit the economics in terms of the e-commerce that actually creates possibilities to actually have your own online shop and actually use reliable delivery services the same way as maybe the big ones have, because most of the current big companies, they actually have their own delivery services. So if you are a good an e-commerce person, you create your own shop, there's no point for you to actually build up the whole infrastructure to deliver your goods. So that's where Postnest actually comes in, and I think by enabling that service will actually, through the community help as well, will actually create more opportunities in that space, as we have seen in several other countries. And I don't think even if some other company will start the same service, I mean, that's only a good thing, because Nigeria is mostly dominated by home deliveries, which is about 80%. But that's, again, you don't have the good option to actually choose between different services. So if that option is there, we actually believe that habit will change, and by providing more, let's say, secure and actually trust within that, will definitely help to actually increase different opportunities there.
Thank you so much. And if I can just summarize what you're saying, that is, apart from all the industries that we have recognized already as opportunities, that there is a lot of opportunities also in the logistics space as well. Thank you so much. I don't know, we have about 5 minutes to go. Do we have any questions for this panel? all the panel that first sat. Do we have any questions before we move ahead? Questions? Any questions? Haven't we done a good job of selling Nigeria? Please, do ask us. I want you to ask us questions if we've done a good job. You should be interested in us by now. Do we have any questions? Thank you. All right, yeah. And then we have another question in. So we have two people. The mic. There's someone here and then at the back. She'll come back to you.
My name is Oliver Guam from Guam and McBain Securities. I have a question for, I think it's Mr. Adebrahimo. You talked about the presidential candidates for the Nigerian election. I was sort of trying to find out their policies in terms of the transparency, because, I mean, these things are not fully understandable in terms of how their policies, when they come into power, what they're going to do, and how it would affect investments in. And the other question was the granularity in terms of the FX, because, I mean, so the different FX windows in sort of like the CBN rate and the parallel market, and, I mean, obviously, we talk about the convergence, but I mean,
Could you
sort of
summarize,
these things are not
please, because
these
of
things are
time?
not policies at the moment. And between now and 2023, how do we know that this will become policies and it will be understandable by the financial markets to make investments? Thank you very much.
Well, I will try to be careful here. Yeah, because this matter is political and international. But having said that, right, I'm still emphasizing that the year we are going into is going to be a good year. You come into this country today with $10 million, you are sure you get about 7.3 billion Naira currency. By this time next year, cool. That same money should be able to get you 1.2, about $12 million. That is straight $2 million to the bottom line, apart from the asset appreciation. That was the point I was trying to make. Now, going to the policies of the three contenders, whichever one, take it from us, whichever one, and I'm not going to go too far into that, right? Things will be put right, policies will be put right. The Nigerian Stock Exchange, NGX, is being repositioned. A lot of things are going on. I advise you want to make money 2023, rush and race to Nigeria. Too much money this time next year. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have someone here with a question. Yes.
Hello, I don't know how I can follow that. We've invested over the last 3 years in a startup in Nigeria, which is still of relatively small scale but growing rapidly. I suppose it's just over ₦1 billion a year in turnover now, which is in a sector which I haven't seen much talk about really, apart from Sven at the end there, which is the consumer. There was a lot of talk about infrastructure, agriculture, a variety of things, but not much about these 200 and some million consumers. We've invested in ShopX, a telemarketing business in Nigeria, which is growing rapidly. But I just wondered because we struggle obviously with the currency issue, because we're buying a lot of product in US dollars and we're using Naira to buy them. I saw you putting 434 up in the original presentation, and I think like most of the people in the room rather smiled at that. If you can sell, if I can buy some dollars from you for 434 Naira, I'll take as many as you've got. So we were kind of concerned about I'm interested to know what people use as an exchange rate for modeling going forward, and how you do that, because clearly when people use Google and use the Central Bank of Nigeria rate, you get a very different outcome from the outcome you get when you actually buy any currency, which is hugely important. My other question was around the development capital question. So you know, we were seed investors. We have a business now turning over $2 or $3 million, maybe $4 million this year equivalent, depending which currency exchange rate you use. But where do you find and where are the right sources for the next stage of development capital? There are lots of VCs, we have some on board who will invest tens or small hundreds of thousands of dollars, but where do you find the next stage of that development capital in Nigeria? Because that's where we struggle to see the growth coming from.
All right, thank you. Does any of the panelists that have spoken so far, do we have any takers? Any takers? All right, yes, thank you.
Hi. Yes. No, I mean, again, I think, look, the FX issue is a conundrum, to be honest. I think what the gentleman was saying was that whoever comes in has to fix the problem. So whichever way, we're going to have a fixed problem in 2023, right? But I think coming to your point around the ecosystem of scaling, I think, yes, we've seen a lot of activity in the pre-seed and the seed stage. But recently, there's actually been a number of VC, either local or international VC firms who are looking to participate in the Series A, Series B stage, and also further down the line. I'm happy to share some of those details with you. But yeah, there's actually been a gap that has been identified by the VC firms in order to keep the ecosystem going up over time. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think that's all the time that we have today. Like I said earlier, our panelists are still in the audience, and I would also be in the audience, so you'll be able to engage with us. At this point, I want to hand over to my colleague, Jumoke Awolumatek, to take the last panel. Thank you. Please help me welcome her.